last screen, and they pushed a button, and it seemed like I saw some flashes.
Today, I want to discuss a deeply disturbing chapter in history involving radiation experiments. Specifically, I want to share the story of Vertus Hardiman, a man whose tragic experience was recently brought to light in the book Hole in the Head: A Life Revealed by Dr. Wilbert Smith. The book tells the story of Vertus, who at just 5 years old was subjected to a horrific radiation experiment.
He wanted the stroke to go. I think he wanted to go.
Vertus Hardiman, born on March 9th of 1921 in Laos Station, Indiana, carried a heavy secret for almost 80 years. In 2006, Vertus was interviewed by Dr. Wilbert Smith. After knowing each other for 2 decades, one day Vertus visited Dr. Smith's office like he had done plenty of times before. But this visit was different. This moment marked the beginning of a story that would shock the world.
And he said to me, as a child, 5 years old, I was experimented on.
Gibson General Hospital had run radiation experiments on 10 kids. All of them were related to him. It happened in 1927 in a small town in Indiana. Vertus and the other children attended Laos Station School, and on their first day of school, they were told they were going on a field trip. Instead, they were taken to the basement of a hospital where radiation was applied to their heads. There was a ringworm outbreak at the school, and they were told they would be taken to the hospital for treatment. Instead, they were loaded onto a school bus and subjected to a brutal experiment. Vertus recalled a phrase that has haunted him since he was 5 years old.
She told the other nurse, "Oh my God, I've given him too much."
As he grew older, the burden of his past became increasingly difficult to bear. Vertus developed a deep fear of radiation and everything associated with it. He went to great lengths to avoid it in any form, refusing to allow even the most common electronic devices into his home. He never owned a microwave or any kitchen appliance beyond a basic stove and refrigerator. His fear of radiation was so intense that he avoided any device capable of emitting it. It all started with Mr. DeLong, the school trustee for Laos Station, who played a key role in setting up the experiment. His brother-in-law, Dr. Ellis, was the head physician at the county hospital in Mount Carmel, Indiana, which mostly served the white community. Together, they came up with a plan to address the hospital's financial problems. At the time, the hospital had just received a radiation machine, which was seen as a potential moneymaker. DeLong saw the students as the perfect candidates, and he personally approached 8 families to get signatures on permission slips for the hospital treatments. DeLong even threatened to close the school if the ringworm outbreak wasn't addressed. DeLong reached out to Uncle Joe, who had been the school's first teacher and principal from 1922 to 1958. He was a true uncle to many of the students, either by blood or marriage, and was married to Vertus's aunt. DeLong had contacted Uncle Joe for the latest count of ringworm cases. Uncle Joe reported 16 cases. This led to planning the hospital trip and preparing permission slips for parents to sign. The hospital advertised the experiment as a cure for ringworm, deceiving parents into thinking it was a legitimate treatment. Dr. Ellis demanded 10 children from Laos Station for his experiment. Ultimately, permission was granted to treat 10 children on Wednesday, December 14th of 1927. Irene walked her sons to the Highway 64 bus stop. Her last words to them were, "Melvin, you take care of your little brother." She had no idea that when she would next see her sons, they would be changed forever. Mr. Clift, who drove the school bus, was married to Vertus's aunt and had driven the Laos station route for 37 years. The bus finally arrived at the school, and about 24 students exited. Those with ringworm were instructed to wait at the front entrance. Mr. Clift went in to see Uncle Joe, who gave him last-minute instructions. Uncle Joe informed Mr. Clift that the children were scheduled to see Dr. Ellis and that the treatment shouldn't take very long. Uncle Joe gathered them around, making eye contact as he reassured them that the ringworm infection would soon be gone. The children arrived at the hospital around 8:47 a.m. Dr. Ellis led the children through the basement passageway into a small room, joined by 3 young technicians, each in their mid-20s, wearing white lab coats. As the children were brought into the treatment room, Dr. Ellis determined the levels of radiation to be used. The radiation amounts became progressively stronger with each child, with Vertus, the last of the 10, receiving the most intense radiation. The sad and appalling truth was that Vertus's birth certificate had been completed and signed by Dr. Ellis on March 13th of 1922. Dr. Ellis, the same physician conducting the experiment, had been the one to deliver Vertus at birth. The children were subjected to full body radiation, absorbed directly through their heads. The technician ordered each child not to move before flipping the switch. Vertus described the experience as similar to holding your scalp to a hot stove for 2 seconds, but in reality, it lasted for a full minute. Vertus was the last to enter the treatment room. He recalled being told to sit in a high-backed wooden chair on top of some books. His arms were strapped to the chair.
They had a little round beanie they put on our heads.
And the radio in the room was turned up to maximum volume. Everyone remembered the radio. It became a symbol of their pain. When the machine was finally turned off and the technician re-entered the room, there was a foul smell in the air, burning hair and flesh.
It seemed like I saw some flashes. And she told the other nurse, "Oh my God, I'm giving him too much."
Vertus's brother ran as fast as he could to find Mr. Clift. Mr. Clift, startled from a nap, was shocked to see Melvin, who was vomiting uncontrollably. Mr. Clift was immediately alarmed at the sight of Melvin's condition. He knew something was seriously wrong with Melvin, and he feared that the other children might be suffering equally or worse. He needed to find them quickly, especially Vertus, the youngest boy in the group. Dr. Ellis released Vertus from the chair. It was clear he had been severely overexposed to radiation. Mr. Clift had no clue what he was dealing with and no idea what had taken place inside the hospital. Mr. Clift wondered where to go for help. The very hospital that was supposed to be curing patients was responsible for this nightmare. He looked down at his uniform and saw hair clinging to it. Hair that once belonged to the children, now uprooted by radiation. Each child was helplessly confused and in pain. The stench of urine and feces was unmistakable. Ella was the only girl treated, and the sight of her hair falling out in handfuls was heartbreaking. The families were desperate for answers. They gathered at the hospital demanding explanations for their children's supposed ringworm treatment, which they soon realized was a lie. Dr. Ellis and the hospital displayed no remorse for the harm they inflicted on their children. Unfortunately, with no answers from the hospital, the parents turned to the courts, seeking justice by filing a lawsuit against the staff and hospital. In the end, the accused were acquitted, leaving the community disheartened. Yet another example of the injustice common in Black cases during that time. Melvin Fuzz Hardiman, living in a senior home. Melvin had suffered a stroke and could barely speak. The staff, unaware of his past, thought the sores on his head were bed sores. They finally learned about the horrific experiences Melvin endured as a child. Vertus and Dr. Smith decided to visit Gibson Hospital, where the cruel experiments took place. This was emotionally difficult for Vertus, but he felt he had to go. Bruce Byers, the building's owner, led them down into the basement, the place that haunted Vertus for so long. After leaving the hospital, Vertus prayed, thanking God for the strength to face his demons. Their hearts heavy but empowered, having uncovered the suffering of the Laos Station victims. Vertus could no longer wear his wig due to the increasing pain in his scalp. This was the last photo of him that was taken before the cancer worsened, leaving a deep hole in his skull. In 2005, when Vertus began experiencing headaches, he finally revealed the full extent of his scalp injury to Dr. Wadron, who, despite being his doctor for years, had never known about the condition. Dr. Wadron immediately referred him to a specialist. He was referred to Dr. Nichols, who performed an MRI. The scan showed that although the cancer hadn't reached his brain yet, it was dangerously close. Surgery was ruled out, and by February of 2007, the hole in Vertus' scalp had grown, and his skull had begun to crack. When Vertus visited Dr. Wadron again, the doctor told him, "There is nothing left that can improve your condition. You understand the end is near." He then referred Vertus to hospice care. In preparation for his passing, Vertus reviewed his finances and created a living trust, leaving 75% of his wealth to his church and the rest to his favorite charity. He requested no funeral, no public ceremony, no embalming, and a burial within 3 days wrapped in a simple burial shroud. Despite the trauma of his childhood, Vertus graduated high school with honors, but he chose not to attend college due to a fear of ridicule. He moved to California, where he worked 2 jobs for decades, never missing a single day. For over 20 years, he worked as a janitor at a Catholic school, adopting the religion to get the job, but he stayed a Christian at heart. During this time, Vertus met Margaret Bell at the Methodist church he attended. Though she loved him deeply, Vertus never fully returned her affection, afraid that if she discovered the truth about his condition, she would reject him. He never married or had children. Despite these fears, Vertus achieved remarkable success. By age 50, he had acquired 28 properties in Los Angeles, all owned outright. Though he never attended college, Vertus built a net worth of $8 million. He purchased his home for $5,000 in cash after years of working 2 jobs, and had stashed over $300,000 in cash in his condo. Vertus Hardiman passed away peacefully at his home on June 1st of 2007 at 8:22 p.m. The experiences of Vertus and the other 9 Laos Station radiation victims reveal a dark chapter in medical history. While many victims of unethical experiments remained silent out of shame or fear, Vertus's courage in sharing his suffering should be honored. Their stories must be remembered and retold so their pain is never forgotten.